Heroes, Chapter 6. I've been in Frenchtown almost a month now, and March has turned into April, but the clouds are still thick and low, and rain falls almost every day. I walk the streets, and people begin to nod at me or greet me with a smile because I have become a familiar figure. My army fatigue jacket tells them that I am a veteran, and this is a season when all the veterans are welcome everywhere. Lingering in front of stores, standing on the front steps of St Jude's church at the corner of 3rd and Mechanic, I watch for Larry LaSalle, for that Fred Astaire strut and that movie star smile. I think of the wrapped-up gun in my duffel bag, and I'm impatient for him to come back. I sometimes stand in front of the convent and wonder whether the mystery of what has happened to Nicole is hidden within those walls. The veterans in the St Jude Club always greet me with big hellos and slaps on the back, and make room for me at the bar or in the crowd watching a close game of pool. They respect my silence and my anonymity. The talk now is of the new Chevys and Fords coming from the Detroit factories, and the freedom of walking down 3rd Street without saluting an officer and wearing civvies instead of the uniform. Arthur and Armand and Joe are always there, fixtures in the club, until they become cops or firemen, go to college or back to the shops. But this is the pause between one life and another, and they drink beer and wine and shoot pool and talk. Always the talk, reminiscing about the days before the war. The nuns at St Jude's, the long sermons of Father Balthazar, the ball games at Cartier's Park, and the mystery of the stranger visiting Frenchtown years ago who hit a home run in almost every game and who many thought was a major league player in disguise, Babe Ruth maybe, or Lou Gehrig. I let my glass of beer grow stale and flat on the bar because I want to remain sharp and alert at all times in case Larry LaSalle should walk in or someone might mention his name. The old Strangler lets me nurse my beer, and doesn't mind if I don't order another. He is the bartender, the sweeper, and the settler of arguments. Arthur says he used to wrestle in the carnivals that came to Frenchtown, taking on the travelling champion who challenged local wrestlers. He was famous for his stranglehold and paralysed his opponents. His voice is hoarse from the time Arthur says that he was hit in the Adam's apple by a carnival champ who was losing the match. His hair is sparse and grey, but his eyes are clear and watchful, and his muscles bulge under the white shirt, his bow tie moving when he talks. There always comes a moment when a sudden quiet falls in the club, as if everyone has become weary, and yet it's too early to go home. The jukebox, too, is silent. I watch and see things. I see the twitching in the corner of Arthur's mouth, the way his lips seem tugged by invisible fingers. Armand stares off into space, looking at something nobody else can see, and there's a sudden flash. What? Terror? Bad dreams in his eyes. As I turn away, I see George Rushlow tugging at his pinned-up sleeve, which should hold his arm. But his arm is buried somewhere in the South Pacific, or probably tossed aside into the jungle growth, as Arthur muttered one day. In the deepening silence, I hear my own voice loud in my ears as I break the mood with a question that has been burning inside me since my arrival in Frenchtown. Has anybody heard when Larry LaSalle's coming back? My voice surprises me, suddenly strong and clear, without the hoarseness. Arthur's eyes are upon me, curious and suspicious. He studies me for a moment, then turns away, raising his glass. To Larry LaSalle, he calls out, the patron saint of the rec centre. I wonder if he's making a joke or being sarcastic, but he nods meaningfully to me, holding his glass high. And to the kids who are lucky to know him, adds Joe LaFontaine, raising his own glass. Everyone joins in, and I'm surprised to see the old Strangler pour himself a glass of red wine. I'd never seen him drink before. To the Silver Star and the men who wear it, he growls, and to Larry LaSalle, the best of the best. Hey, Strangler, Still got the scrapbook? Arthur asks. Strangler sets down his glass, reaches under the bar, and pulls out a big black leather book. Glancing at me, he says, "They're all in here." The cover reads Frenchtown Warriors in white block letters. He rifles through pages of newspaper clippings and pictures of men and women, all in uniform. He holds the scrapbook up at a double page with headlines, articles, and pictures of Larry LaSalle. The biggest headline, at the top of one page, proclaims, "Lieutenant Larry LaSalle earns Silver Cross." "There are lots of medals," the bartender croaks, "for outstanding service, but only the Silver Star is for heroism." His old voice is suddenly formal and dignified. "For gallantry." Another headline, halfway down the page, reads, "LaSalle captures enemy, saves fellow Marines." "The dancer becomes a hero," Arthur says, then pauses and turns to me. Leaning close, he says, "That voice, when you asked about Larry LaSalle, now I know it. You're Francis Casaubon." Final recognition in his eyes. "You used to chase balls during the games at Cartier's Field," I say, voice low, afraid that my days of being anonymous are over. His eyes widen and he declares, "You have your own Silver Star. You're in the Strangler's book too." As he turns to announce my identity, I touch his shoulder. "Don't make a fuss, Arthur. Let me stay like this," indicating the scarf and the bandage. "You deserve to be recognized, Francis," he whispers. "You're a goddamn hero." Shaking his head in disbelief, "Little Francis Casaubon falls a grenade and saves—" "How many men did you save, Francis? How many men were you willing to die for?" Lifting the scarf, I sip the beer, doing something to avoid answering his question. A long moment passes. "Okay, you have my respect. You don't want to talk about it, I won't either." Slapping me on the back, I look away from his admiration in his eyes. "And I'll keep your secret." The Strangler places the book back under the counter, but he swipes at the top of the bar with a damp rag. "It's good that I don't have to keep adding to the book anymore," he says. Then looking at me and answering my question, "Nobody knows when he's coming back, but they all come back to Frenchtown, sooner or later." Arthur nudges me. Still whispering, he says, "The rec center. Ping pong. You were the champ there at ping pong, right?" "Table tennis." I correct him. I correct him gently, remembering Larry LaSalle and my brief moment as the table tennis champion at the rec center.